Let's go over two case scenarios where we will apply these controls in 2 to 5 to that scenario to have a better understanding. First one. Let's say for example that a company is a retail organization that has a significant online presence. We want to make sure that the network is secure and protected from cyber risks, so we decide to implement the cybersecurity requirements for network security management as outlined in subdomain 2 to 5. First, the IT department will need to define, document, and approve the cybersecurity requirements for network security management. This will involve conducting a risk assessment to identify potential threats and vulnerabilities, and determining the specific controls that need to be in place to protect the network. Once the requirements are defined and approved, the next step is to implement them. One of the key controls is 2.5.3.1, which involves using firewalls and defense in-depth principles to segment and segregate the network. The IT department can use a firewall solution like Cisco ASA or Fortinet FortiGate to create different security zones and implement access controls to restrict traffic between them. Another important control is 2.5.3.2, which involves separating the production, test, and development environments. This can be done by using virtualization technologies like VMware or Hyper-V to create isolated virtual networks for each environment. For 2.5.3.3, secure browsing and internet connectivity, we can deploy a web filtering solution like Symantec Blue Coat or Barracuda Web Security to block access to potentially dangerous websites and restrict the use of file storage and sharing sites. For 2.5.3.4, wireless network protection, we can use solutions like Cisco Meraki or Aruba Networks to implement strong authentication and encryption techniques for the wireless network. Additionally, we can conduct a comprehensive risk assessment before connecting any wireless networks to the internal network. For 2.5.3.5, management and restrictions on network services, protocols, and ports, we can use network monitoring and management tools like SolarWinds or PRTG to monitor network activity and identify any unauthorized services or protocols that may be running on the network. For 2.5.3.6, intrusion prevention systems, IPS, we can use solutions like Snort or Suricata to detect and block malicious traffic on the network. For 2.5.3.7, security of domain name service, DNS, we can use DNS security solutions like Infoblox or BlueCat to protect the DNS infrastructure from cyber threats. For 2.5.3.8, secure management and protection of Internet browsing channel against advanced persistent threats, APT, we can use solutions like TrendMicro or Symantec to protect the network from APTs that may exploit zero-day vulnerabilities. It is important to note that this is just one example of how a company could implement the controls outlined in subdomain 2 to 5. The specific solutions and technologies that an organization chooses will depend on their specific needs and requirements. Similarly, we'll do another example. Let's say, for example, that a manufacturing company wants to implement network security. The first step for the IT department would be to conduct a comprehensive risk assessment to identify the specific cyber risks facing the organization. From there, the IT team can start to implement the various controls outlined in 2.5.3. One example of a control that the IT team could implement is 2.5.3.1, which calls for the logical or physical segregation and segmentation of network segments using firewalls and defense in-depth principles. To do this, the team could use a firewall to segment the network into different zones, with different levels of access and security controls in place for each zone. For example, the IT team could set up a DMZ, demilitarized zone, for public-facing services, such as a web server or email server, and a separate zone for internal resources, such as the company's ERP system. In terms of technology, the IT team could use a firewall such as Cisco's ASA, Fortinet FortiGate or Palo Alto Networks, to segment the network and enforce the security policies. Additionally, the team could use an intrusion detection prevention system, IDS, IPS, such as Snort, Suricata or Bro to monitor network traffic for malicious activity and alert the team to any potential threats. Another control that the IT team could implement is 2.5.3.3, which calls for secure browsing and internet connectivity, including restrictions on the use of file storage, sharing and remote access websites, and protection against suspicious websites. To do this, the team could use a web filtering solution such as WebTitan, Cisco Umbrella or OpenDNS to block access to malicious or unwanted websites, and could use a VPN solution such as Fortinet FortiVPN or Cisco AnyConnect to securely connect remote workers to the company's network. It's important to note that these are just a few examples of how the controls outlined in 2.5.3 could be implemented, and the specific solutions and technologies that an organization chooses will depend on their unique needs and risk profile. In addition to the examples and case scenarios provided, it's important to note that network security management is an ongoing process that requires continuous monitoring and maintenance. Regular vulnerability assessments and penetration testing should be conducted to identify and remediate any vulnerabilities in the network. It's also important to have an incident response plan in place to quickly and effectively respond to any security incidents that may occur. It's also important to keep track of any changes to the network infrastructure, such as the addition of new devices or software, and ensure that these changes do not introduce any new vulnerabilities. Additionally, it's vital to stay informed about any new developments in the threat landscape, such as new attack techniques or malware variants, and take appropriate action to protect against them. For ICS and OT systems, please refer to the ICS Cybersecurity Domain 5 and if you need to meet another NCA requirements which are listed in the OTCC. To secure OT or ICS systems, it should follow different approach.